Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome everyone. Story time today from the files of Adventures in Card Dealing. This is the story of the largest purchase I ever made in terms of quantity. Certainly not in terms of profit or cost or quality, but quantity, yes. It was 2017. I don't have any pictures from the deal, so any pictures you see throughout this video are stock photos, and I didn't keep financial records on it. There's actually a reason for that, which I'll mention, but I remember them. I remember it pretty well, so I'll sort of do a best guess financial breakdown from memory at the end. So I was working with Jeremy Donson, who I've mentioned a number of times, and I always show this picture of him standing in the snow. I'm not sure why I always show this picture of him, but it's sort of a tradition at this point. He was living in Arizona, and he found someone in LA who was selling a storage unit full of baseball cards. I actually was located very close to me, so I went and checked it out. It sounded extremely promising, as the seller was not a card guy. He had inherited the unit from somebody else, didn't really know much about it, and he was asking $10,000 for everything. When he opened the door to the unit, I could not believe it. I mean, it was a large storage unit, and it was absolutely filled to the ceiling with cards, thousands of boxes, 200 count boxes all the way up to 5,000 count boxes. It was just absolutely full, except for a little pathway where you could walk through. There was also a safe in the unit, and not some little safe. It was like a monster safe with a huge bolt lock, and I mean as tall as me, 7 feet wide and 7 feet tall type of thing. My immediate reaction was, we've just hit the jackpot. This is the big one, the life-changing deal you hear about. I sort of take a moment and step back and sort of make a strategy as how I'm going to assess this. And all I'm really trying to do at this point is trying to make sure we would be comfortable paying $10,000 for this, which at this point certainly seems likely. So the first thing I asked is to see what's in the safe, and he says, sure, no problem. Although he says the safe is empty, and he opens it for me, and indeed, yeah, the safe was empty. There was nothing in there. Okay, but bummer, but still a very impressive safe. The kind of thing you would see at a bank. So I strategize, okay, I'm going to maybe look through a few boxes in each section of the unit. I'll look at some from the back left, some from the back right, some from the middle, etc. And hopefully that'll sort of give me a cross section of the entire unit as to what's going on. And obviously if I find a few boxes with better stuff, I'll sort of focus on that area, as there's no way I'm going to be able to go through every box, or even 10% of the boxes, or even 1% of the boxes in reality. So I start going through boxes, and at some point it's been an hour or two, and I've maybe skimmed through, let's say, 50 boxes, and there's just absolutely nothing of value. I mean, it's just all commons and mostly junk wax era commons. Every single box you looked at. I'd open up a box and it's all 1991 donruss. No point in even looking at that sort of box, since 99% of the cards are worth nothing, and the best possible card you could pull would be worth something like 25 cents. And just every box is like this. So at some point I stop and I sort of take a look at the entire unit. At this point I've sort of looked at boxes from every section of the unit, and there's just all unsellable stuff. It's just all cards that I would personally donate or maybe sell to another dealer for $1 per thousand type of thing. So I do a very loose estimate on the count, and I roughly estimate that there's about 3 million cards in this storage unit. So I call Jeremy and I explain the situation, and I tell him that there's really 3 big problems with this deal. First, I don't have a way to transport it. This would not fit in a rental van, so we would have to rent a U-Haul, which would be a significant expense. Second, I can't store it at my house. I don't have the room. I have a 2-car garage, but I was using it as my office, and I can store maybe, let's say, 500,000 cards if I absolutely had to, but that would be kind of a stretch, and this is way more than that, more like 3 million. So we would have to rent a storage locker for at least 3 months, probably more. That's going to be another major expense, not to mention the fact that I'd be driving back and forth lifting heavy boxes every other day, which doesn't sound fun. But either of those problems could be worked around if the deal was good. But the third problem is that I thought this collection was probably worthless. It looked to me that it was a dealer who had just long pulled out all the good cards, and this was just his commons accumulation over the course of many years. It's certainly possible there were hidden goodies in there and boxes buried that had a ton of good stuff, and we could hit the jackpot. You never know, but my guess was that wasn't very likely. So I tell Jeremy, I'm actually not willing to take on this collection, as it's just I can't afford to spend a whole bunch of time on a deal that's gonna yield no profit. So we actually decide to pass. I tell the guy we're gonna pass, and he sort of turns desperate. he's moving, he's closing out the storage unit. He needs all these gone by the end of the month, type of thing. And he just sort of asks, point blank, what would you be willing to pay? And the truth is, I don't even want these for free at this point. The storage unit and the U-Haul costs are going to be really, really high. And like I said, I don't want to spend a bunch of my time going through, worthless commons, as I have much better ways to spend my time. So I sort of explained this all to him, and he offers to include the safe with the deal, and he offers to transport all the cards for us on his own dime, as he owns a truck. Okay, interesting. So I called Jeremy back, and Jeremy's actually pretty interested in the safe for himself. He looks up the model online, and it's about a $3,000 safe if you were to buy it new. So the safe isn't new, but it's in fine shape. So Jeremy and I agree we'll have the cards delivered to Jeremy's house in Arizona, as Jeremy has a 3-car garage. We can store the cards there, and Jeremy will just park outside for the time being, and he'll go through the cards little by little when he has a chance, and every once in a while I'll come down on like a weekend, and we'll fly through as many cards as we can and sort of work it that way. We agree that I won't keep records on this one, as record keeping can be time consuming, and I wanted to commit as little time as possible to this deal. So we offer the guy $4,000 for everything. That includes the safe, and it requires him to deliver the cards to Arizona on his dime. He agrees to this immediately, and he does just that. He delivers the cards to Jeremy's house in Arizona. Over the next few weeks, Jeremy's going through cards whenever he can, but he has a full-time job and and a family, so he's not getting very far, and he's really just not finding much. And in the meantime, his garage is completely full, which gets more and more annoying over time. So at some point I come down for a weekend, and we spend 2 days just flying through cards as fast as we can, and there's just nothing of value in the whole thing. I mean, the best sort of thing we would find would be like a late 1970s box, of all of commons. At least you can sell a box on eBay for something like $50, but that was really sort of the best, most notable sort of item. I mean, there was really just nothing. At some point we made a game out of it. Next person who finds a box worth at least $10, loser pays for lunch type of thing. So, after that weekend, I had set aside a bunch of sort of bulky items to sell on eBay, but I don't think we found a single card worth, more than a few dollars. So we agree it's time to bail, and I call my dealer friend who pays the dollar per thousand, and I tell him, we have 3 million cards, and in theory he would pay $3,000 for that. But he has the same problem that I did. He says, I can't handle 3 million cards. He had no way to transport them from Arizona to LA, and he had no place to store them, so he's gonna have to rent a U-Haul and a storage unit, and these are significant costs. So he says, I can pay you $1,500 for the 3 million cards, and this is of course totally reasonable, so we agree to that. I sell all the bulk lots on eBay, and my friend buys the commons, and we are done with this burden of a collection. Good riddance. I let Jeremy keep the safe, as he actually did most of the work, and he really wanted the safe, so that seemed seemed fair. So if you haven't figured out by now, this was not a good deal, and not just profit wise, but more because of the time we committed to it. Here's a financial breakdown. Again, all the numbers I'm saying here are from memory, although I'm fairly sure they're at least pretty close. We spent $4,000 on the deal. That was technically our only out-of-pocket expense. You could say things like my gas driving up to Arizona and back, but we'll leave that stuff out. I sold a bunch of lots on eBay. I was able to squeak out about $3,000 for them, and we sold the bulk commons to my dealer friend for $1,500. Total money in was $4,500 for a grand total profit of $500. We split that $250 each. Yuck. If I think about it, each of us individually, my final results were $250 for, I'm going to estimate, 30 hours of work. And Jeremy's final results were $250 and a really nice safe for, let's say, 100 hours of work. But also consider that his garage was unusable for at least 3 months. So that's it. The largest quantity purchase I was ever a part of will certainly go down as a total bust. It's interesting, when I look back at this one, I don't even think we really made a mistake. I actually think we kind of played it right. I'm a big believer in, learn from your mistakes. I make them all the time, and, don't regret them, but learn from them. And when I look back on this one, what was the mistake? Actually, like I said, I think we actually played it right. It was sort of a gamble worth taking that just didn't pan out. So sort of interesting. But thank you everyone for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this story, and if you enjoyed this, I included a link to some of my other adventures in card dealing stories in the description below. Feel free to check them out, and I have a few more to share that I'll be sprinkling into the channel here and there over the next few weeks and months. But until then, have a great day and see you next time. Thanks, guys.